Warriors, welcome to this video, my friends. Behind me there's a waterfall. In front of me there are some cats. Over there's some cows. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're starting to hear all sorts of crazy nature noises and animals, it's all good. Some birds right there. Today, I want to get to the root cause emotionally of your physical symptoms of anxiety. All right? And there's a big problem in the world today, and that problem is that there isn't enough people that are connecting the emotional repression to the physical reaction. They think that they have a physical ailment, a physical problem, when in fact this accumulation of this need that wasn't met during childhood is really playing a big part in a person's physical response. So the first thing to understand is, please don't fall into that boat where you go, no, it has nothing to do with my emotions, that repressed rage, that repressed sadness, the blame, the guilt, the unforgiveness. No, it can't have anything to do with that, my friend. It has everything to do with that. And so I'm going to go into 10 of the symptoms that I hear more than any other symptoms related to this anxiety disorder. And I'm going to give you the emotional connection to that symptom based around the works of Louise Hay, as well as my own experiences with my own clients. Okay? First symptom is aches. You wake up in the morning, you got those aches in your hip, the aches in my shoulders, the aches in my head, right? Very, very common. Now, the aches are related to a longing for love and a longing to be held. I see it all the time. And many times when people go about these symptoms and they say, yeah, that is the root emotional cause of the physical symptom, many times the physical symptom tends to go away. So again, when you're talking about aches, we're talking about a longing for love and a longing to be held. So go and be held. The second symptom is related to adrenal problems. And when we're talking about adrenal problems, a very common pattern is defeatism. The world is just too heavy. I am defeated. You couple that with the second characteristic, which is not taking care of yourself. And now you've got adrenal problems. So when we're discussing the emotional component to the physical reactions, my friends, please take these very, very seriously. All right? These are based around studies, these are based around patterns, these are based around healers out there. We're not talking about therapists, all right? We're talking about healers. And it's unfortunate I mentioned studies, but there aren't a whole lot of studies based around what the healers are doing to contribute to releasing the anxiety disorder, the emotional distress, and many times, especially in the works of Stephen Parkhill, we're talking about releasing cancer, all right? So again, the emotional component, the accumulation, the subconscious programs that were installed at a very young age. Third symptom, back pain. When we're talking about back pain, we're talking about a lack of emotional support. And we're talking about feeling unloved and holding back love. Comment below if this has anything to do with your back pain. Be honest, it's step one. Fourth symptom, loss of balance. And you'll see that with anxiety all the time. What is going on? I feel like I'm, depersonalized. I feel like I'm dizzy. I feel like I don't have my balance. Back in my anxiety disorder days, I used to have to hold on to the railings in order for me to get from A to B. I was like, what the heck am I doing here? I'm only 30 years old and I got to hold on to the railings. Everyone's looking at me like, what's wrong with that guy? And so when we're talking about a loss of balance, we're talking about scattered thinking. Scattered thinking. You just can't seem to commit to one thing. It's either this or that, and you try something for a couple days, then you jump to the next thing, then you jump to the next thing, always hoping and wishing that these symptoms would go away, when in fact they're there because of the emotional component, and you're looking for something on the outside to take care of something that's going on the inside. And that's the biggest problem. Along with this, we're talking about not being centered. Not being centered. A lack of focus, a lack of balance in one person's life, and the best way to rebalance those emotions is through meditation and to make peace with peace. Very, very important. Fifth symptom related to bladder problems. Hello, poster child for bladder problems right here during the anxiety disorder. Now, obviously, anxiety plays a big part in this, but to go even deeper, we're talking about holding on to old ideas. Holding on to old ideas and a fear of letting go. You'll notice a lot of people with bladder problems talk about things like back in the day, things used to be this way and that way, and in the 60s it was groovy, baby, and nowadays there's none of that anymore. People have turned into robots, and they're constantly talking about how great the old days were, and there's a fear of letting go of those memories and those times and the music and whatever else, right, you've attached yourself to. So that's deeply at an emotional level related to bladder problems. The sixth one is Candida. And when we're talking about Candida, we're talking about feeling very scattered again, very similar to a loss of balance. Feeling scattered, lots of frustration and anger being accumulated by this person who's going through Candida. And when I'm talking about this frustration and anger, I'm talking about certain subconscious programs running within the mind and the body of the individual. And this anger could have easily been transitioned from the parent to the child without even knowing it. And so by repeating the parent's behavior, by the time you were 4 years old and saying, you know what, that's truth. Mom and dad cannot be wrong. They must be right in all their behaviors, what they're telling me, who they're telling me I am. So again, when we're talking about the frustration and the angers, we're talking about these programs again that were installed, if you will, into the child, and there's a cow. Next, we're talking about dizziness. Okay, how common? We're not talking, loss of balance. Okay, loss of balance, there's a fear there, but dizziness is kind of that constant feeling of being on a boat, right? Swaying, right? I'm going to lose my balance completely. So dizziness is related to being flighty, scattered thinking again, and a refusal to be one with your present surroundings. So when we're talking about dizziness, we're talking about what's going to happen in the future, the worst possible scenario. Back in the past, I used to be this free-flowing guy or girl. I never had these symptoms. So again, dizziness is attributed to you not being here and now. And if this is the case, then mindfulness will play a big part in your recovery. Because when you can tap into your five senses consciously, right? I'm standing here right now, and I see the lens, and I hear the water, and I feel the wind against my face, and I begin focusing, consciously focusing on these. I'm going to find that in a short amount of time, I find myself being a lot more present and not moving in a direction as to where this dizziness is going to take me or what physical ailment could it be related to. Okay, you'll notice anxiety, always future, depression, always past, and the happiest people are the ones that are here, right now, with all five senses, okay? Next one, number 8, is fatigue. Fatigue plays a massive role. And when we're talking about fatigue, we're talking about a resistance to change. I don't want to change my identity. I'm scared of changing my identity. I have a certain amount of a relationship with my identity. And it's funny that I mentioned this because I was working with someone a couple weeks ago, and I asked them after the session, how is your symptoms? How do you feel right now? And they said, you know what, non-existent. I don't have any symptoms, when in fact at the beginning of the session, I felt very stressed, very anxious. I had all these symptoms running through my body. And then consciously, you could tell that he was starting to get scared, bewildered. Where did it go? And so he had an attachment to an identity that he thought he was that was related to self-punishment, okay? I have to feel like I'm punished all the time. I have to feel physical discomfort. I have to watch, news that is related to chaos and drama. I have to hang around people that are constantly feeding me all sorts of drama into my life. And you'll notice this all the time with fatigue, right? It really wears on a person. So ask yourself the question, could you possibly be programmed subconsciously to self-sabotage, to self-punish? And whenever something good comes around in your life, you sabotage it completely, saying, I don't deserve it. This is not me. I need to be in pain and discomfort. No, no, no. Farthest thing from the truth. Symptom number 9, related to the heart. Heart palpitations, missed heartbeats, these sorts of things that you hear with anxiety all the time. And when we're talking about the heart, we're talking about a lack of security. A lack of security. And if I do, in fact, take that path towards something new and become someone different, I feel like I'm losing the security of all these years. Remember, the first goal of your subconscious mind is to do things, think things, believe things that are in line with whatever makes you feel secure. Not self-love, but self-security. And whatever's been practiced for the most amount of time is the most secure thing. So when we're talking about the heart, we're talking about, I don't want to go there. It's a little bit scary. I don't want to take that leap, right? And there's conflict between the conscious and subconscious. The conscious desires something new, and the subconscious says, no, we've got to keep those programs running because it's kept you alive until now, and it's real. It's right. It is who you are. Conflict. And who's going to win that conflict? Subconscious mind. Number 10, related to the throat. How many people feel that lump in the throat feeling, itchy throat feeling? And when we're talking about the throat, we're talking about an inability to speak up. When you were a child, were you given the chance? Were you allowed to speak? Were you allowed to, say what you wanted to say? Or were you shut down all the time, saying, no, that's not right. You can't speak up at this point. I'm speaking now with some narcissistic parents, maybe. Who knows? As well, there is swallowed anger when we're talking about throat, physical symptoms. And so the question becomes, where did the anger begin? When you were a child? What sort of things made you the most angry that you repressed into your mind, body, and spirit? And it continued to accumulate over the years, continuing to repress those feelings, never being able to let it out, never being able to share it with anybody because of the stigma. They'll think you're crazy, it's not the right thing to do, human beings should not feel bad anytime, they should always be happy, 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 happy. No, no, no. You're allowed to feel. You're allowed to go through those emotions. You're allowed to cry. Crying is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of releasing those repressed emotions, my friends. And I would truly, truly love if you took this video and you said that today's the day where I'm going to go deeper into when these emotions began. When did I first begin to feel that anger, that sadness, that repression, that anxiety, that stress, that fear? This is the root cause of your physical symptoms of anxiety. Promise. I love you so much. You are more than anxiety. And if you have any other questions on the End the Anxiety program, head on over to this website right here. I love you all.